Well, welcome back, everybody, to the PPC week number 2. We have done Europe, we've done Brazil, and that means we're over in NA now. We've got a great matchup, arguably the two best teams in this region, between Team Project and now Flashpoint, otherwise known as Invocal, and the Kings, or the Idiots. More name changes than I can keep up with, but Kresnik's still with me to talk about these two teams. Kresnik, do you think a fair assessment in saying that these are the two top teams here in NA?
I would say so. I think it also depends on how well TripleDeep's new meta kind of carries on going forward, because we know TripleDeep's had that upset victory earlier in the weeks, but I would say these are the teams that I pegged from the start as having the most growth potential, both Flashpoint NA and Team Project. I think we're going to see a lot coming from them, and this is definitely a game I wasn't really expecting to see this fast. I didn't realize they were going to be playing week 2, and I'm definitely happy to see these two potential giants clashing. I think these are the teams with, at least in this region, with the most PPL talent going against each other. So we're going to see that kind of that high-pressure experience, whoever has more, coming to shine through today. Yeah,
I agree. And obviously you see standings-wise, Flashpoint NA up technically in first place just because they won their first matchup 3-0, and then Team Project 3-1, so just one plus-minus behind. Still a battle for first place largely here, though. Stone Keep is where we will head for map number 1. Kresnik, just a quick rundown of the rosters. Team Project, Hiro, kusqt, Rakata, Shadow, and G-Bunny. And then Flashpoint NA, doesupz, Vex, Invocal, randomnoob, and RuBBu. Names everyone should be familiar with. Do you think, given the caliber of players and the fact that these guys all played against each other last year in the PPL and have now kind of formed these different few teams with one another, do you think, like, emotionally there's maybe a little something extra in this matchup because they were, maybe not call them rivals, but opponents week in and week out on LAN over the last year?
I would say so. There's always that drama people talk about with Cuss and Vex that I don't think is really drama anymore, but there's definitely a bit of a rivalry, I'm sure, between these two teams, being the ex-PPL teams in NA trying to kind of prove themselves, more or less prove whoever is going to be the top dog in this region. Looking at this draft right now, though, is Stone Keep, so I think Andy and Bomb King being banned are not too surprising. Con being banned is a surprise for me, especially over Raum, but Project must think they have an answer to it with this double healer comp, Furia and Grohk.
Yeah, and the double healer composition is something we saw in Europe largely, and now seeing it trickle over to NA a little bit. Team Project opting to go that direction. Grover, of course, my big question to you in our first set of the day was, can he provide enough supplementary damage to make it worth it? And your answer was yes, and then the answer through gameplay, also yes there. So no surprise that Team Project are going to opt to go that direction. Ying and Inara locked in. Talk about a health pool that Flashpoint NA have already. Between a Raum and an Inara, you got lots to burn through there if you're Team Project.
No shields, though, so if Project want to go something like a Cassie or a Victor, even something that can just put out raw damage, that would be pretty effective, I think. Something that's going to be harder for them to get on top of if they can have one thing to peel that Raum off. Flashpoint NA have kind of gone with a standard draft, and I'm expecting I'm expecting a zero tank draft out of Team Project, and they do bring it out. Triple support, double flank, so the sustain is going to be in the cooldowns, and everything else is going to be in that healing, not getting us countered by Cauterize.
I mean, at this point, teams are just one-upping the amount of healers they're going to try to play on their roster, apparently, in Team Project. Grohk, I don't think there's any question that, a bouncing damage Grohk is going to do plenty of damage. We'll have to see the direction that he chooses to build. More healy, more damagey, but we'll have to jump into Stone Keep between the number 1 and number 2 teams here in NA. Flashpoint versus Team Project about to kick off. kusqt picking up the Grohk for his team. Hiro on the Furia, G-Bunny on the Grover. So it is Maelstrom, the Shock Pulse Grohk there. Is that the right direction you think they should go?
I think so. There's nothing to stop the Shock Pulse. It's Inara Raum. Not only is there also a Ying for extra bounces, literally nothing can stop that Shock Pulse from raining down and bouncing between everyone. I just want to see how they play this, because they really don't have great poke. It's all their supports that have the poke. It looks like these supports are all stacking up, and this Shock Pulse damage is already adding up inside Keep.
Yeah, kusqt is loving this opportunity. I just want to sprint at somebody and do some damage, then maybe I'll turn around and heal you guys every once in a while. And Flashpoint getting melted through. Rakata is there to finalize doesupz. So 2 members down from Flashpoint, and Team Project have just rolled their way forward here. RuBBu on the Raum, out around this corner here, but Shadow has found himself a nice corner to plug in some damage. At 57%, Team Project, they're in a great spot.
Great start here, and they can't stop RuBBu right now without that axe, but look at this Invocal. Takes a side angle, picks off both supports on Project.
And that's maybe exactly what you need here if you're Flashpoint to get back into this one. RuBBu chops down kusqt, and just like that, one fell swoop, a double kill from Invocal has put Flashpoint NA right back in a position. They're in striking distance on this one, still behind percentage-wise, but the zone from that Raum is in. Random Noob has kind of gone topsy-turvy here, and Invocal finds the final shot. Be careful, Shadow sends a projectile right on through, but it's 87% for Flashpoint here. Team Project are going to move in. The blink does not get the touch on the point, and Flashpoint NA fight right back and grab point number 1.
They need to find a way to deal with this Strix, but how are they going to make that room? If he hits one shot on anyone trying to dive him, they're more or less almost dead. Shadow finally trying to make a difference as they do find their target, but the people trying to protect him go down.
And that's what you need, I think, here if you're Team Project, to start off this defense for yourself. You have a good lead on the point, and then you end up having to get pushed back, in large part due to Invocal on that Strix. This is really, I think, what you look for on the defensive side to get things moving in your favor. Quick thought, though. Team Project, obviously, triple healer in this case. You know, Grohk, Grover, even Furia kind of flexing back and forth, doing some damage as well. You know, Buck, I think, has started to make his presence felt on a few maps. I don't know the last time I've seen him on Stone Keep. I certainly think it works. And RKTA especially playing that Buck will be exciting. But do you like the Buck pickup here if you're Team Project?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's basically supplementing their lack of a tank by having a sustaining flanker. He'll just brawl out, survive, trade into the Maeve more than likely a lot of the time, and if Invocal overextends, he's going to be the best person to lock him down.
And I think that's important to look at as well. Invocal early in this game has made his presence felt, so that's something Team Project are going to have to identify and mitigate moving forward. But suddenly, 4 members fall from Team Project. The defense was looking brilliant there for just a second. Shadow pulls one back. But Flashpoint NA keep this payload moving forward. Team Project now fully back on the respawn. Invocal will feel comfortable here off to the side and just going to continue playing this low ground and plug some shots off where he can. Just misses over the head of G-Bunny on that Grover. RuBBu has the ultimate. These are some stacked up targets here for Team Project. Rolls through, ice blocked off, stun connects on to nobody. So RuBBu sends the ultimate flying, doesn't find much for it. Payload continues to roll forward as G-Bunny drops down one more time. doesupz finds the kill. And this Maeve in the back line has started to connect some shots. Another double kill from Invocal at a pivotal moment. Might have just given Flashpoint a 2-0 lead. And that's certainly the case. All of the sudden, the aggression puts this game up 2-0.
It's just so hard for Team Project to hold by their spawn at all. What do they have to poke? Some shock pulses, Grover axes, hoping that they'll get lucky with some Evie shots in the backline because there's enough time to react to that. There's just no way for them to counter some of this pressure, I think. It's all projectiles. Unless they send their Buck in to land on Invocal, they just can't stop them. Cuss is doing a great job in the damage department, and so is Shadow, but Invocal's 6-1 right now. That one death was in I think, an overall team wipe otherwise. It's just very hard for Team Project to find anything. They have to pick off a tank and then move from there, but how do you burn down Inara Raum without a tank on your own to trade with them? I
agree, and I think that's a good point. I mean, you might have the top damage dealer in the game, but you also you're doing that damage into a Raum, into an Inara, or a similar amount of damage into a full 5 squishy, maybe Buck is a little bit different in that conversation. Invocal's damage may be a little bit closer to confirming kills than some of what we've seen out of Cuss, and Grohk falls first overall here in this fight, and Flashpoint have just been on the point fighting this entire time. 69% from them. G-Bunny pulls a kill back, so RuBBu is going to have to turn around and move his way into the church side. Invocal, though, from back in the back of the map, finds a plug shot onto RKTA. G-Bunny ends up going down at the hands of Vex. 90% on the point here for Flashpoint, and Inflame maybe to give them a chance, but that's a blink right on through just to reset that overtime. kusqt is going to fly on in, but he catches a shot from Invocal for his troubles. Overtime reset one final time. Shadow finally wins that engagement. So nice healing from the Furia is going to keep him alive, and now a double kill for this Evie may have made things a little bit more interesting here, Chris.
The tanks flexing the supports are honestly carrying this fight right now with good heals from Hiro and kills from Bunny. Vex accidentally blinks back to spawn, but look at this point control by RuBBu. He's still finding all the kills on the point. Where are the heals?
RuBBu drops his shoulder and moves his way right on through. A double kill, but Shadow answers right back. Evie and Raum trading doubles. Invocal plugs a shot. Finally, Random Noob gets one as well. And then there was one, and it was Rakata. And finally, Team Project will be denied. And Flashpoint, through some struggle, secure point number 3.
Shadow is trying so hard to make this work right now. He's trying to do everything for his team, but just wasn't able to make it work even with all those numbers he had. They just couldn't burn through the health bars that were on the point near the end. You can already see this aggressive positioning. Flashpoint's taking Raum up top. Doe is actually walking straight into them, but with the support from Random, they might just get a free pick here.
Random Noob drops off Rakata. RuBBu gets G-Bunny as well. A double kill suddenly for the Maeve. Hiro's gonna try to toss out a beam, but finds nothing for it. Random Noob is not missing daggers right now. Oh, the final shot onto Shadow. That's a drive-by from Random Noob, and that's almost a full wipe, and this payload's getting close.
And they're going to be willing to spend anything for this. Seismic Crash. They have the Midnight as well if they want to make things even harder for them to poke, even though they can't poke to begin with. Also coming up from the other side, but I think Flashpoint have all the answers.
RuBBu's just right around this side, has the Raum ultimate charged up. Team Project have carved themselves 3 kills out of this one, so RuBBu likely will just hold on to that, maybe take the stagger, but he's a Raum, who am I kidding? He's just gonna run through and gets Hiro on his way out, no way. Finally drops. Flashpoint denied for really the first time this game.
Yeah, and I wanted to say, I thought Flashpoint had it, but I think they just held too close. I think they pushed to a place where the composition that Project had was at a huge advantage. Play a little bit further back, force them to come out, make them have to play off of the poor poke that they have, and I feel like all your ultimates are immediately a million times more effective. Now, did you force the Illusory Rift with this flank, but they're not going to get much out of it. Trading with the Invocal's huge, but they need to find more if they want to hold.
And Rakata's the one who falls for Team Project. kusqt does the same. Payload a hair's width away from rolling on in here. 4 members of Flashpoint in range. Ice Storm is going to drop down from Shadow, plugs away some damage onto doesupz. Rakata back from spawn, moves through, and gets a kill onto Random Noob, and RuBBu falls as well. Vex pouring out some good healing, but some good damage as well. But doesupz falls under the duress of the respawns from Team Project. At this point, it may look like Team Project have finally gotten themselves a point on the board.
Possibly, I mean, depending on if a Random can come out for this back cap, but it looks like they are privy to that. Not gonna let them pull that around, and Project will finally, the pounce! Oh, RuBBu actually touches, but I don't think there's anything that's gonna happen. At this point, it's honestly kind of a wash for Flashpoint. All they're doing is feeding ultimates to Team Project. There's no way they're gonna be able to sustain, and honestly, small advantage because of that last push to Project, but they haven't been able to win a mid-fight yet. They're gonna have to find out what they want to change if they want to. The cap time is just way too hard to overcome. If anything, find Vex, find some way to CC him, maybe with a good route from Bunny, then maybe you can make something happen, but they just need to find a way to cross that distance and get on Invocal or Vex, and they can work from there, but they have to start somehow.
And really just, I continue to look at that damage chart and how different it is, and Shadow up top, kusqt not far behind, but Invocal has done enough damage to enough important targets, I think, to maybe make his damage a little bit more impactful.
Yeah, they want to have to find a way to be able to make it a little better for them for sure. Look at the items though, they have a decent amount of ways to stop the healing on the other side. Even with that solo Ying, they still triple Cauterize 3, Bunny with Cauterize 2. And look at his positioning, with all this dismounts, it's going to make it even harder for them to cross that gap with the poking from the Ying there. They have to give away that inside area, but again, they're setting themselves into a place where they want to be better pokers, I feel, find a dive target. Rakata might equalize it here with this Inflame, but Random gets away because of that healing, no matter what amount of Cauterize is on the other side.
Inflame starts it off for Team Project, and Rakata trains his way into the back line. Hiro with a nice double kill. 4 members of Flashpoint respawning here, and it's just RuBBu on that Raum buying some time. Team Project are going to have the fast cap for themselves, 66%. RuBBu is going to sprint his way out of this one. Team Project absolutely in control, at least spatially, of this mid-fight. Rakata does fall, but Random Noob does the same. 97% now for Team Project, but they're going to move themselves off the point, realizing they have enough time to let Flashpoint maybe get a little bit, but you give them too much time, and Invocal's going to find a shot onto Shadow. Vex doing his best to find some healing in the back line as well, and everything looked great for Team Project a moment ago, but suddenly that's getting shut down. RuBBu, final shot on a kusqt. Whirlwind is just topping off Hiro here at this point. Invocal will not be denied. Random Noob finds the final few daggers. Overtime started, this time in favor of Flashpoint. And it looks like once G-Bunny drops down, that may be all she wrote. Shadow's going to try. He's going to reset overtime one more time, but Flashpoint fight back in and take game number 1.
What a huge turnaround there at the last seconds. That's the power of having a tank. Fight goes long, suddenly you can rely on that health bar, especially with Inara, with the wall, with the earthen guard, so many ways to artificially lengthen the fight even more. It gives them time to get the respawns. Invocal comes back even after that first pick, even after that full team wipe, and they buy enough time to just set him up to run straight through Project.
Well, Hiro went 5-5 and 17 for Team Project. Shadow, maybe shades of Renegades for him here. 10-5 and 11 on that Evie. Nothing else, I don't think, to hang your hat on just yet if you're Team Project. You look at Invocal, I think, for Flashpoint, as maybe the shining star. That Strix made his damage felt early and often.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, RuBBu out-damaging Random. I think it was just hard for Random to find people to duel, really. You can see the entirety of the damage on the other side. I mean, even Hiro was able to out-damage him, but they were always shooting at a tank. A lot more people to actually have eating up that damage, but you can see how uncontested Invocal kind of was. As soon as the tanks walked in, absorbed all that pressure, he could just do whatever he wanted. He just walked around, stood still. There were some times I felt like he could have unplugged his keyboard and been doing the same thing.
I love watching this kid, man. I mean, he is so good at aiming. You give him any hit scan, even out to the hit scan. I'm sure he's flexed onto a blaster at some point. That I can't quite remember at the moment, but he's so accurate and so quick on all of his shots, and I love seeing Strix now in this current situation. I mean, you saw Prosper Logic do it earlier in our first set of the day, and Vocal kind of a similar shade. I mean, I think everyone really doing a good job there for Flashpoint, but there's something just so, I don't know, concrete about a Strix that's just hitting its shots, and Vocal really made Team Project pay for letting that one through. So now you wonder, is Strix starting to get back to that point where in the right hands, he's still maybe just as good as he was towards the end of last year?
The thing that confuses me is how he ever stopped being in that point. I mean, unauthorized use got slightly nerfed, and the pistol got nerfed, but the top tier Strix players are just quick-scoping anyway. Watch Invocal, he barely pulled out the pistol at all. The rifle is still, I would say, the problem with his balance, and what these players have been using the whole time. I'm shocked that he hasn't really been in the ban lane for a while, but I think you'll start seeing him there more and more. As people play him again, get used to his burst damage, how strong he is. I just don't know what he's going to be banned over. I mean, people want Raum gone, people want supports gone. You have to let something through. What is the easiest to play against?
That's true. I think we're in a meta now where so much is viable. It's picking the lesser of two evils almost. You're picking your poison one way or the other, especially if your first pick now at this point. I mean, Raum has been a favorite, obviously up against Flashpoint and EU. The Victor and the Vivian were big bans. Team Project are going to grab themselves Ruckus this time around. Another tank that I think early on we saw a lot of in EU, but I think we're really starting to kind of see Ruckus a little bit more sort of everywhere nowadays. So I'm not necessarily surprised that Team Project have picked him up first.
Especially aerial assault now that's super viable, and now that we're on Serpent Beach, having that ability to take that high ground with the tank immediately is something that you don't normally get otherwise. So the only character who can fulfill that role, that's why he's so highly prioritized here. Those 3 missiles, he can really dive the backline, and Team Project have kind of settled themselves onto a more standard comp, I would say. I mean, for all we know, triple support, double DPS is standard now, but they're going back to what we're used to at the very least. Up a little bit to Grohk, but it is a tougher map for him, I think, so Flashpoint probably going to stick to what they're used to.
Yeah, there's going to be a time when we're losing our minds when 1 healer, 2 frontliners, and 2 damage dealers are locked in because we're just not used to seeing it anymore. Not quite at that point just yet. But I've seen so much more variety in the picks and bans over these first couple weeks and in qualifiers that I'm really used to. I mean, I remember triple DPS was a huge deal, and now there's literally a team here in NA called triple DPS, and that's all they play. So I'm really excited to kind of see what teams are able to do with the meta when I think a lot is viable. One of the first Cassies, though, locked in here for Team Project, another champion you hit your shots, you're going to be doing some good damage.
Yeah, it is not as good, I think, into the tanks on the other side, but maybe they just
Right.
wanted to get rid of the possibility of triple DPS because Cassie rolls Inara Ruckus. Just take it off the field, get rid of that counterplay, and she'll still be all right into the Ashe. It's just dueling the Strix, dueling this Maeve. That's a big ask. I think it's a lot of pressure on Shadow to open things up for RKTA a bit.
Yeah, and I think Flashpoint, I look at their draft as well. Let's stick with the Strix. Let's stick with the Maeve, 2 damage dealers that worked out so well for us in game number 1, especially here on Serpent Beach. I mean, you get the mobility from the Maeve, you get the long sight lines and easily confirmable damage from the Strix. Flashpoint are obviously feeling some type of way about those 2 champions in their compositions here today, but we'll have to see if it pays off a second time as we move down to Serpent Beach. If there were any doubt, it is still Invocal on that Strix, so I imagine whether it's a win or a loss, that Strix will be somewhere near the top of the damage charts.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially since only Bunny can really get on him. It's going to be this Ruckus Evie dive, but they're going to have people protecting him. It's going to be hard to get on top of, and he's going to be just free-firing if they don't. You can already see, though, we always talk about this little duel on the side by Dial. They're going to be fighting for that, and the winner of that will give their team a massive advantage because they'll set up a surround immediately, and whoever loses that is going to have to react fast.
That's a Maeve versus an Evie, one of the classic matchups. Invocal into the stealth side, steps, plugs a shot into RKTA. Shadow loses the 1v1, a double kill for Invocal. You gotta stop this kid. He's not missing today. Random Noob has a couple. Invocal has 2 as well. And Flashpoint roll through the first fight of this game.
So smart by Invocal to watch that illusion too. There's no other reason for Cus to put that up there other than to leave. So free damage on Cus, he can't peek, and that's going to limit the heals during this retake situation.
That's a stun on G-Bunny as he soars on through. doesupz is going to trade back 1 kill, but Invocal's still alive. Gets some good healing from Vex to keep him in this fight a little bit longer. Overtime started. Starting to melt down now, though. Team Project in range, but you've lost Shadow again. Invocal now on the full rotation. And as if there were any surprise, that's going to be point number 1 over to Flashpoint on the back of Invocal and some good kills from the rest of the team.
And now they're going to just set up with this high ground since they have this Maeve. It's going to be just her poking up top. No one really else to take it. If anything, they could use this pressure from Random to try to rush through Oasis and take that upper area. But look at all this stack up top from Project. They're going to be able to drop down and run away if they want to afterwards. It's just going to be so risky to try to push into Invocal on this high ground, especially when he's basically not missing. Bunny's trying, but no one else is there to help him. He's going to get melted immediately.
Yeah, I think Invocal was surprised that G-Bunny was behind him for some reason. A triple kill from Invocal on the Strix. Stack him up. Flashpoint continue their onslaught. Team Project, 2 members left alive. I don't know, man. This Strix, you gotta do something about it.
I don't even know what to... What do you do when someone's hitting shots like this? When you play against the best one of the best characters in the game, just unstoppable right now, and with the peel from his team too, they know exactly who they need to play around because Invocal is just on fire. Look at this pressure from the side, but he knows. He flashes, and now there's no answer that Project could have.
He is so low and an inflame now from Flashpoint as they continue to move forward. Invocal's gonna drop down, maximizing these moments, plug some damage into kusqt. RuBBu's right there to finish him off. Shadow so low, but nobody else is in range. And Flashpoint 2-0 up on Serpent Beach just a few minutes in.
Dave, I think I'm starting to figure out why Invocal was the only non-idiot
yeah, right.
on this team initially. The way that he's been performing, what a shot there, falling onto Shadow as he was trying to soar away. Looking at this build too, tactical retreat I think is the most important thing in this entire build. Guerrilla Tactics is solid in terms of getting resets on tactical retreat, but being able to move 40% speed for like 4 seconds if you get 2 stealths off with it, you can rotate really quickly, and even though you're not teleporting like Kinessa, you're almost impossible to punish during that unless they're already right on top of you.
Well, the yellow items starting to come out here for Flashpoint. More mobility, more master riding, more abilities, more ultimates. All of that can only mean more winning. If you're Flashpoint here, you need to find an answer if you're Team Project for Invocal, who has not been tested this game. 1 kill on the board for Team Project, and that was RKTA on Random Noob. And it might continue to be the same. G-Bunny finds himself alone in the backline 1 more time, and Vex is able to clean up the ruckus here. Team Project left searching for some sort of offensive presence early on in this fight.
Unfortunate for Bunny, he tried to Hexafire from a mile away and just got torn to pieces by Furia and Strix there on the high ground. But Flashpoint maintained control, Invocal still healthy, and I don't know what answer Project could have with Bunny's dive already not really working out. He's focusing on the point now instead, but they can't just not peek Invocal. He's just going to sit up here, even with one traded kill. Shadow makes it even, but still, they have to find a way to deal with this Strix.
And Random Noob was able to get Shadow as well. It seems like Team Project were thinking, well, if we can't deal with the Strix, maybe we just deal with everyone else first and give ourselves a numbers advantage. Team Project onto the point, that's Hiro. They'll have fast cap on their side, so they'll overtake Flashpoint very quickly here. G-Bunny used the Hexafire previously, didn't find anything for it, so he won't have that now. Capture stops at around 81%, and here's the duel you look out for. Shadow onto Random Noob. One final shot's all you need, but Inflame maybe enough to make that Maeve a little bit too slippery to lock down. Shadow plaking some free damage into the Barik here, but doesupz rocket boots his way away, and Vocal's found a kill elsewhere in this fight. Overtime started from Flashpoint here, and a helpless Hiro. Bunny hops his way towards the point, unable to connect, but overtime is restarted. G-Bunny down, but he dashes right back out. And Kresnik, that's looking like an easy point number 3 here. A 13 streak now for the Strix. And Flashpoint, they're pushing for the win.
I mean, that's showing the impact of Midnight, because Shadow was over there on the side. He could have kept fighting, but just the fact that he had no information around him, he had to run away. He had to soar over the wall and then position just to poke and refight afterwards. Just that ultimate, that global ultimate, takes away so much map pressure from Team Project, and I think it flipped it around. Bunny has to go in then later without Shadow. The split just lets them pick them off one by one.
This is a nutty performance, to say the least, from Invocal, and not only in Game 1, that is transcended over here into Game number 2 as well, and he is willing Flashpoint over the finish line, gets the kill onto RKTA as well, to maybe try to get this payload push going. Hiro caught out just a little bit here, some good healing though from kusqt, keeps him just in swinging distance. Invocal, if you hit that, I'm taking off my headset and walking away. It was very close, but no good. Contested with a minute and a half left. Flashpoint, all 5 members on streaks. Assert Dominance is going to drop down. Finally, Invocal dead early on in this fight, but the rest of the team is going to get it done just fine. Some good body blocks. kusqt, a bit out of sorts up top. G-Bunny drops. kusqt finally does the same. A clean sweep as Flashpoint continued rolling forward.
And Flashpoint have the double globals here, so other than the CC immunity from the ultimates from the tanks on Team Project, Flashpoint are going to have extra damage, and no one's going to be able to see what they want to do. That's going to help them immensely here, especially if they're trying to find out where Invocal is. It's really aggression, too, getting completely shut down, and Invocal's already set up and free-firing.
And that was some massive stuns onto the high ground there. There's an Inflame double kill from Invocal. Maybe just what Flashpoint needs to end this game. Both ultimates used. Inflame, Midnight, both gone. RuBBu is just zoning out Shadow here, who's going to soar his way back. A-load inching itself in. Contested at the last minute, but who would have guessed it? Flashpoint, they take this one 4-0.
I'm happy the camera didn't cut over a second later, because I literally half collapsed. I'm standing on my desk right now, went like down here as soon as I saw Invocal get dove and that seismic crash just barely missed. Hiro got the trade, but at that point, it just wasn't enough. They had the tanks holding on the point, but they lost that high ground control. And that's what matters on Serpent Beach. If you can't surround the attackers as they're pushing in as the defenders, you've lost the point. You need to have that surround, or else that match is unholdable. And, well, that is a tough game for a Ruckus player.
I don't know. I mean, it's humorous only because of how nuts Invocal went that game. I mean, that is a brutal game for G-Bunny, but for everyone else as well. I mean, everyone had a tough time that game on Team Project. Shadow pulled a few kills. 38k damage is only higher than Vex for Flashpoint, and that's the highest on Team Project. So Vex, only person beneath anyone from Team Project here, and who else do you need to highlight but Invocal? And now I really do think you have to consider taking away this Strix, whether it's fanning him or picking him up, because it's just been too much.
I would say maybe go to a map where you can't play Strix, but there basically are no maps that you can't play Strix. If he's going to hit every quickscope, there's really nowhere you can go with it that's not going to be at least mildly effective. Project recognized the issue, at least. I mean, they were trying to play around Invocal. They tried every single way they could, but there comes a point where someone's just unstoppable. Bunny was getting aggressive, going 0 in 10. It looks bad on the stats, but at least you know he was doing his job. What's he supposed to do in that comp? Feed. Feed onto Invocal.
Yeah.
What do you do when he headshots you every time? Not much you can do other than go 0-10.
Yeah, I think that's just a brutal scenario entirely to be in if you're on Team Project. Back to the drawing board. I mean, this set is not done yet. You look at Flashpoint, not surprising that they're performing this well, but you look at Team Project, a list of veterans that are absolutely no strangers to tough sets and needing to come back. So it's 2-0 to Flashpoint as we head into break number 1. Sit tight, we got game 3 right after this. Well, if you joined us about 15 minutes ago, you already missed the first 2 games in this set. Flashpoint up against Team Project. And I think Invocal is about the recap that you need for Game 1 and Game 2. Again, I think for Flashpoint, Kresnik, you have to give props to everyone. They're playing around the strengths of that team very well. Everyone playing the role that they need to be playing. But on an individual performance level, Invocal through 2 games has willed Flashpoint to a couple of wins.
Yeah, for sure. Invocal hitting all the shots is huge, but you're right. Like a sniper is only as good as the team enabling him a lot of the time, having the presence on the rest of the map to make that pressure so they can't get on him. And when they do, they get traded immediately. That's a big part of it. They've clearly been practicing with this strategy, and it shows. And I think, honestly, they're going to have to adapt really quick on the side of Project, maybe even banning it out. Like I've seen some people in chat talking about getting rid of that Strix, just not letting it be there. Even then, Kness is still available, but at the very least, they can save themselves from a little bit of burst damage.
Yeah, I mean, one of the two. I mean, Ascension Peak, certainly a map where the Strix can work. But Rakata's kind of is the counterpart to Invocal on Team Project, and that is also a player that I think we have, not only I think, but we have seen a Strix in his hands is very terrifying. So I think Team Project, they won't feel like they're missing out maybe on anything if they have to pick up the Strix here just to take it away from Invocal, because I think Rakata's the type of player that can mirror the performance that Invocal has had. They opt for the easier decision and just take the Strix off the board entirely. No surprise at all to anyone.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm actually, one thing I am surprised about is the banning of Androxus on the side of Flashpoint. He's a solid character, but, I mean, Flashpoint had Raum game 1. They're willing to give it up in game 3 just to have this Androxus off the table. Team Project, I'm sure they're going to like to get aggressive, considering I know how Cuss likes to call. Being able to push with that Raum is a godsend for a player like Cuss that wants to get in there and apply pressure all the time.
Doesn't kill me.
And Chris, I gotta say, I think I take note of kind of the pick rates, win rates, ban rates, all that at the bottom of the screen when they get locked in. I was surprised to see Evie at like a 17% win rate. I feel like she has been, 80% pick ban is kind of the quick math I did there, and she has just not been effective in finding wins.
Yeah, and even looking at the, you see the Furia rate to counter that too. She was at like 84 before the set started. So it's crazy how kind of swingy these things are. You also have to remember those are also only the games we've watched. Not the, I don't believe that is for, I believe that is only for the games that have been on stream, so could be different.
True.
Usually Evie specialists are more the people who kind of thrive with Evie, but stopping to look at this comp, double flank for Flashpoint, Barik, Ying, it's pretty solid so far, open themselves up to a Grohk, but it looks like Team Project aren't willing to bite.
Form up and follow me in.
It is Ashe locked in finally from Flashpoint, so for the first time this set, the Strix onslaught will be mitigated, not in the hands of Rakata or in the hands of Invocal, or we've seen it in the 2 previous games. It is double flank. I think likely that's Invocal on the Maeve, and then maybe Random Noob on the Evie, but both of them quite flexible as we move into Ascension Peak for game number 3. Flashpoint just need one more to take this set. Team Project maybe looking to get a comeback started as we move on into game number 3. More consistent, a little bit more calm, I think, in the pick ban phase there. Rakata on this Lian, I talked about him on the Strix. I expect big things from this Lian this game.
Especially against double flanker. I mean, picking those two so early kind of opened themselves up just to get poked at by Flashpoint. Depending on where Rakata's positioned right now, but he's not in a place to protect Cuss. They don't even want him, though. Shadow running away in the back, and he's immediately taken down.
Yeah, a scared Bomb King heaving bombs and running away is all you have to think of to describe Shadow to start off this game. So a good start here from Flashpoint as Invocal has assisted his team in the first couple of kills here. G-Bunny drops down as well, and Vocal continuing to perform. Don't need a Strix, just need a Maeve this time around. Team Project were able to get themselves on the point, 48% for them. But now it's Flashpoint with 39% that have managed to kind of carve out a little bit of territory for themselves and keep themselves present in this mid-fight.
That positioning also over there by RuBBu at the very end, just locking them down into that choke. Everyone was trying to get away on the side of Team Project, and all the damage was just in that one little staircase that everyone was trying to run away in. So great positioning to kind of recognize where they were all trying to leave. I'm almost kind of disappointed Project didn't realize they should just jump off the map. Just jump into the well.
Yeah, right?
go give Lassie something to talk about and reset for the next fight.
Yeah, no dog is going to come save you. You're just going to reset with the rest of your team and get back. Quick technical pause before we jump back into this game. But still, shadows of what we've seen in the first couple of games, Kresnik. I mean, this is momentum building on momentum, I think, if you're Flashpoint here. And Shadow falls one more time on the Bomb King, seemingly on respawn. They've been able to deal with the BK so far. It's 90% now, where Flashpoint will stagnate out. Invocal just tossing out some daggers. Back behind the statue goes G-Bunny, but locked down. doesupz finishes off the damage there, 99%. For Flashpoint as overtime will start. Team Project have to fight their way back in. That's Hiro who's going to try to do so. Leaps his way in, gets a touch on the side. But the more you move on, the faster this overtime meter is going to disappear, Kresnik, and Inflame from Team Project maybe opens the door, but no Inara, no problem. Nobody from Flashpoint moves back, steps on the point. They haven't captured it just yet. kusqt dives as well and assert dominance just to zone out a little bit. Rakata's trying to clean up randomnoob, who gets the better of him. And that 1v1, G-Bunny stuns out 3 here. Team Project not ready to just give this one up for free. The respawns are going to be back from the rest of his team. randomnoob finally gets the kill, and Flashpoint contested take point number 1.
You can see how good these supports are when you see how quickly both of them charge up their ultimates. The Inflame and the Illusory Rift just matching each other because they've both built it at such a fast rate. Even then, Team Project maybe resetting fast, not resetting fast enough hurt them there. The retake was a little bit rushed, didn't have everyone. You can see a little bit of a disconnect here too. They're kind of split, but Shadow Living opens up the door for Rakata to get an opening pick.
Rakata slides on through. Enlightenment, not enough damage, but the final 1 tap is, so Vex is a little bit worse for wear after that engagement. And I don't think I'd shy away from it, Kresnik. I think this is the first real sign of life we've seen out of Team Project in the first 2 games so far.
I think I agree. They had some good fights in the non-tank
You're
map.
right,
Yeah,
I agree.
Certain Beach defense looked okay too, but this is the first fight I think they've just cleanly won, and they're going to have to keep it going. Maybe having a standard comp against a standard will help, or just winning these 1v1s on the side like Shadow will help too.
Yeah, I think finally Shadow has gotten himself into a bit of a more comfortable spot here in this game, but that's a good Ice Storm to lock down G-Bunny. No sprinting away from that one, says randomnoob. Vex gets the kill as well. So a minute left, but I think if you're Team Project here, you're A-okay taking these trades. I mean, it's a long march up that hill, especially on Ascension Peak, all kind of culminating in that free high ground. I mean, Rakata just has to walk out of base on that Lian if they get that far. So I think this is the point where you're fine if you're Team Project. Let's hold this ground, and if we trade out, 1 for 1, 2 for 2, we're okay.
I agree, but it looks like they wanted to seismic crash something. I'm not sure what it connected on. I think it was just to stop RuBBu. And I want to say they're holding upper, but look at what Bunny's doing. He's just on the floor. There's no way to counter him. He's just in the middle of their team, and they can't stop him.
And that's where he's been effectively this entire game. Sometimes getting Ice Storm down, sometimes finally getting identified. Nice shots there from Shadow to get rid of doesupz around the corner. G-Bunny's just playing zone here with 20 seconds left. Finally, the Raum goes down. That's a good point. I mean, they have some stuns. They have, the Ice Storm cripple. But they're going to have a tough time dealing with this Raum this game, Flashpoint is.
I mean, literally the only way to stop it is the Ice Storm. I don't think they have any other consistent way at all. They have, I guess, Ashe ultimate, but if you're assert dominancing on a Raum just because he's running, you've already lost. just give up at that point. We'll have to see if they find another way to deal with him, but I think as this game goes on, that Raum is going to get even harder for them to stop.
Well, it's overtime on here. Halfway is the payload. Team Project have looked good on the defense, and Hiro helps them out just a little bit more with doesupz dropping. Down next to the payload goes Ashe here, and RuBBu trying to stay alive, but Random Noob and Vocal both cleaned up. RuBBu gets some healing, does end up escaping. I was going to see if they were going to kill him off before the end. They don't, but Team Project finally strike on a defense and tie up this game.
10 ultimates, too, going into the 1-1 mid-fight. And no comeback mechanic for either team means they can kind of play however they want. This is a map where it's very easy to contest the objective, so even then it wouldn't have been quite as much of a factor. Looking at the BK build, since it is here, might as well mention it. It is pretty standard, I would say. Air Blast instead of Jolt. I think that's kind of like the filler that kind of goes back and forth with whichever one you want to use, but still, just preference. If you play BK for a while, you probably aren't using Jolt. I do want to mention, during that offense that Flashpoint had there, the pressure up top from RuBBu was actually insane. He was so hard to kill. He survived so much damage from the rest of the tanks. If he can keep doing that up, if he can keep that pressure up on Ashe with her newly buffed damage, I think Flashpoint have a good chance of closing out the set here and now.
Shadow Poppy bombs backwards, gets it in flames, somehow stays alive. G-Bunny right into the fray again. He does fall, but immediately traded back. 2 kills from Team Project, only a couple ultimates used on their side, where Flashpoint have used 3. No kills, spring off of the first one yet. Shadow is going to roll through. King Bomb looking to connect. RuBBu is around the corner, and RuBBu will get tagged up and stunned up. kusqt finishes off the kill. Poppy Bomb aggressively one more time. But look at the scoreboard, Kresnik. Team Project, 75% already. The zone is there. doesupz will be able to rocket boots right back into range. Body blocks locked down. Hiro, he grabs the stun, grabs the kill. 99% overtime is on here. It looks like at this point it's a foregone conclusion. Team Project, for maybe the first time in this set, are going to take themselves a mid-fight.
It was a huge seismic crash from Hiro, too, stopping that dome shield from coming out. It's possible they wouldn't have been able to kill doesupz right away, but they had the counter. Great wall, too. Hiro's been on fire so far. Don't manage to stop RuBBu coming out, but if anything, he's just staggering himself. They want to keep up this aggression, too. They don't want to give them any room to flank around them with those flankers, but they're just going to give up space, and Project have gotten themselves quite a bit of card time.
And I think, talk about the turn from Shadow, especially mid-fight 1 to mid-fight 2 now. I mean, deleted probably twice fresh off respawn in that first mid-fight. Now on a 9 streak on that Bomb King, makes it 10 with a kill on a doesupz. That's a big shift, and you know, kusqt or Ricotta rather on a 13 streak on that Lian. You need your blaster as well to be doing some damage, and Shadow's had a big turnaround in this game.
Agreed, for sure, and you can see it now with him catching out without random too to turn around this last choke. But look at the pressure they have. Look at this angle. No one's pushing the right. It's only Bunny, so as long as Bunny lives, they have a ton of pressure from Project.
Ricotta's still alive, despite being taken very low here. Finally, RuBBu finds the critical shot to get rid of the pesky Lian, and Invocal's going to dive the backline. Shadow's found 2 low health targets, and that means 2 easy kills for the Bomb King. Ice Storm down onto G-Bunny one more time into the ice block. Goes Random Noob. He's going to blink his way through. Shadow gets himself over the archway, but that's not out of the range of Random Noob there, so no more Bomb King. But this feels like a round-ending fight, and there's still 50 seconds left.
Yeah, because it got so close so fast because of the pressure from Project. And again, they can stack one lane and put out so much damage as long as Bunny can stay alive. It's a lot of pressure on him, I think, as this Raum being the kind of uncounterable character on their side. If he can run in, draw enough fire, he can turn things completely, and it looks like it wants to be now with the Inflame.
And that's so unfortunate that you lose Ricotta right as the Inflame starts. May be able to trade one back, and they are. On to Random Noob, but the respawns are going to be much closer for that Evie. G-Bunny drops down the ultimate and maybe locks down a couple members of Flashpoint here. Team Project still in a very good spot as Invocal dashes in and gets rid of the Team Project healer. 10 seconds left. Shadow goes by the wayside as well. Suddenly looking dire is Team Project, and looking to tie up this game is Flashpoint. Nobody in range to get the overtime touch. Let's just avoid feeding them ultimate charge. And this one is tied, headed to a tiebreaker on the mid-fight.
I think maybe they tried to rush it a little bit. I noticed Bunny was pretty forward without his dash. If he had waited just for Hiro to be close enough to contest, he could have maybe ran at the point when that was off cooldown, gotten the overtime, and then immediately refought afterwards. With Hiro there, if they're willing to turn around and actually peel for their backline when this double flanker composition dives, I think that's going to be their best shot. As long as Bunny's distracting and people are actually protecting Cuss, I think this could be a winnable game for Project, but they have to actually capture this point if they want to get back to that fight situation. decent amount of ultimates up for them, but using that Inflame there with 4 up on the other side, including some of the best in the game in Assert Dominance and Midnight, it's a big mountain to climb, I think, for Team Project.
Well, they do have morale boost 2 on kusqt, so that 28 will become 100 quicker than Flashpoint may expect, but at least off the rip, they know that there is no Inflame. Shadow gets a Assert Dominance on, but he just Poppy Bombs RuBBu right off the high ground. That one doesn't end up finding much. Rakkata through the Midnight somehow stays alive as Random Noob weaves his way into the front line of this fight and gets rid of Hiro. Rakkata next to fall on that Lian, and Invocal plugging away some good damage as well. Suddenly, with the snappier fingers, there's only a couple members of Team Project left alive, and Flashpoint right back in control.
And Invocal was missing some shots earlier, which let Rakkata live, but does hit them there to get that double kill near the end. And Bunny has to die on point. He bought so much time. This actually might make this doable, especially with that positioning Rakkata already has. Double flanker can't really contest him. Rakkata's going to be fairly free for now. We'll see how they want to come in. 60% still. They need to send in Hiro. He's the closest one, and unless Bunny gets knocked off his mount, it's going to have to be someone going in. Bunny actually gets behind, too, so now they need to push now with Bunny distracting the whole team.
And big ultimates for Team Project about to come back online. Everything but the King Bomb will soon be ready, but Random Noob wins a fight against Rakkata. Immediately traded out, though, is Shadow. doesupz taken low, drops down the Dome Shield on the point. Invocal has not been mitigated yet, but Seismic Crash down. That's an easy kill for Hiro. Suddenly, Flashpoint swept off of the map. Vex the next to fall. Team Project, they use their available ultimates and win themselves another chance at this mid-fight. Enlightenment, Ice Storm, the only 2 ultimates ready to go.
This is why having a hit scan or having your flank forward to dismount is so important. Bunny just master ridings into the backline, and there's nothing they can do. He turns around, uses the ultimate, breaks the Dome Shield, and they just can't kill him. And look now, he's on top of the healer. They don't have any heals.
That's a massive pick, though, from Random Noob. He immediately gets traded by Shadow, and Invocal looking for the critical couple of daggers. Shadow tries to King Bomb, unable to get the animation off, so RuBBu and Invocal combined for a couple of kills. Team Project still in this one, 96% for them. Invocal drops down the Midnight. Vex is able to get the kill onto Hiro. Suddenly, it's only Bunny left alive. Overtime will start, but it doesn't look like anyone from Team Project is in range. Point number 3 over to Flashpoint.
What an unreal retake. I guess they have so many ways to actually retake the point. Not even Assert Dominance got charged again. Didn't even need to get used for that second fight because of just how cleanly they were able to find those picks. Even with that trade onto Random, they had enough. Look at this aggression from Project right now, though. Hiro all the way into the backline, and King Bomb counters the dash.
Assert Dominance from RuBBu goes up to the high ground. Shadow trades out his ultimate for that one. Big knockback. That Bomb King headed into the atmosphere, and he's found himself some damage, but Invocal is there waiting for his landing and gets the kill onto Shadow. This is looking like a crumbling defensive attempt here from Team Project. Raum will, just by nature, last a little bit longer. The Flashpoint have carved themselves out some good territory here, and Kresnik, this one rolls in, it ends the set.
And it's getting close, looking good too with the Illusory Rift and the Midnight both almost available. A lot of ultimates potentially there for Flashpoint, and they just used the counter to the Dome Shield. Raum's ultimate unable to be pulled out for that. Bunny giving me a absolute scare, but looks like Flashpoint think they found the answer. Project do. They want to get aggressive. This Inflame might do something, but the Illusory Rift is already countering it.
Oh, Midnight used, and it's going to expire. No kills on the board either side. Random Noob has to use the Ice Block, but instead it's kusqt striking twice. And off the map go the rest of Flashpoint just to fully stagger themselves out. Great defensive stand there from Team Project to keep this one close with a minute left.
See how aggressive they want to get to. If they want to get some dismounts. I don't know if they saw someone was on the left side. I couldn't even tell who it was pressuring behind on that mount. See, it wasn't Maeve, but Bunny has that locked down too. So Project are in great positions. High ground control, but on point Shadow, maybe too aggressive. Hiro didn't put the wall in the right spot. Invocal finds one. This is a great start for Flashpoint.
This is where they'll need to push that small advantage. Anytime you can get rid of the Bomb King is anytime that you'll feel comfortable. Random Noob uses the ultimate onto G-Bunny, nearly gets out alive. This is the Raum, but doesupz is able to stagger himself around that corner and get rid of G-Bunny. So now with 18 seconds left, Team Project in the backline, fighting for their lives in this set, and a chance at the first place here after a couple of weeks in North America. Dome Shield used now by dousupz. dousupz, 8 seconds left, low health on a couple members of Flashpoint. Rakkata, this is where you want to be. Enlightenment does not connect onto anybody. kusqt still alive, swoops himself backwards as well. Fighting down on the point is G-Bunny, who's going to let the ultimate roll on through. doesupz extends his life a little bit longer, but Shadow is there to clean up the kill. That's the King Bomb. Random Noob, a double kill onto Shadow. This is looking great for Flashpoint, but suddenly RuBBu falls. Now there's an Inflame to just help out the remaining members of Team Project a little bit. kusqt finds a few, G-Bunny with one as well. A triple kill around the bend for Kus, and this game is tied.
That's why Furia's, you think Furia's good? I'm starting to think Furia might be a pretty good champion, considering a double kill followed up by a clutch triple at the last second. Literally no DPS alive for Team Project, but it doesn't matter with the Furia there. Just firing into everybody that they can see. That damage just chunks through flankers so quickly. They just have such low health pools. And with an Inara paired with it, after those nerfs to Barik, Inara is so sustainable, they couldn't do anything because they had to keep pushing into Kuss's damage, while his healing was also keeping Hiro alive.
Team Project did have to spend a lot though, Kresnik. Only the Seismic Crash is available and even close to being up. Whereas Flashpoint, assert dominance, Midnight, soon to be an Ice Storm, could give them the edge in these fights. Sometimes it just comes down to whoever's finding the first pick. Shadow locked down, does end up getting killed off by Random Noob. That's an assert dominance from RuBBu to start off this fight. kusqt swoops himself backwards, but Rakkata finds the trade onto Random Noob. You need your Lian to start hitting some shots right about now. doesupz trades out one onto Hiro. It's a 2-for-1 fight in favor of Flashpoint right now. Team Project are just going to turn around and try to regroup.
I'm surprised Bunny didn't try to die on point, but I guess he was confident he could get away. He's close to death, so knows the limits of Raum a little better than I do. As they hold the point still. They have a chance to retake because it looks like nobody actually dismounted Hiro. Just an even fight now, but with the flankers in the back, Team Project have to turn around and figure out what to do about them fast.
69 is where Flashpoint stall out. Some ultimates starting to come up here from Team Project, so you have to be wary about it. RuBBu gets the kill, but G-Bunny immediately trades out onto Invocal. This Raum just free-firing from the point, and look how much presence he commands. Everyone has to turn around and focus on G-Bunny, but he's able to sprint his way out. 48% for Team Project, Flashpoint back on. 87% for them. You have to move yourself in. An Inflame will be coming up soon. Kresnik and Enlightenment is there as well. The Fire Wing sprout. Team Project roll themselves forward. RuBBu a little bit too far forward. That's the first kill in this re-engage. Shadow grabs himself one as well. One final shot from Rakkata's all he needs. Down goes Invocal. Suddenly, only 2 members left to Flashpoint. Make it 1. doesupz falls. 72% for Team Project. Vex, the most recent to go down. And somehow, Team Project looks like they're going to take themselves the win. Maybe
it's possible,
not,
but RuBBu, he gets the overtime at the last second. Maeve might touch, but look at her health bar. It's so low.
Overtime starting to expire. Random Noob is down. Suddenly, doesupz back onto the point, and I might end up with egg on my face after this one. doesupz drops, sliding on back is Rakkata, and there we go. A few seconds after I expected. Team Project take this one in 7 points.
What a retake there at the end. That Inflame, I mean, they got close, but that fight wasn't looking good. The trade was already against them, but Inflame plus Lian, that burst damage and the easily confirmable shots on those mobile flankers. Plus, Rakkata also hitting all the shots in between, too, probably helped quite a bit.
Yeah, that helps.
So, yeah, so much burst there, and you can tell they just knew exactly who to focus down, baited out the flankers, and that's what flipped it at the last second.
21 kills for Shadow, 14 deaths granted, but 21 kills is plenty enough to help his team out. Rakkata, 132,000 damage. That's close to top in the game. It was Random Noob actually on that Evie, who plugged away 133,000, but maybe call it even just for argument's sake. And Invocal, a big difference maker, maybe damage-wise. But I think you have to give a nod to Hiro as well, like 106k damage on that Inara. And that's exactly what Team Project needed, and maybe gives them some momentum.
Yeah, I agree completely. Also, I think banning Strix probably made things a little bit easier for them because they could actually play in the open.
Right.
They weren't afraid of any of the other backlines that were going to get picked. You could just looking at those stats, you couldn't tell who won the game. Straight up, you could not tell it was that close, and it was just the coordination. And I think the distraction of the Raum that ended up actually winning that game for Team Project. The DPS did great, but I think the tanks were doing exactly what they had to do. And even though Bunny, maybe some fights could have gone another way if he had timed his dash a little differently, he was still soaking up so much attention from those flankers that had to be pressuring the backline. there was just nothing else Flashpoint could do other than turn and then deal with someone else.
Well, after a 4-1 game number 1, a 4-0 game number 2, 4-3 for Team Project, get them right back in this set, and now we're looking at an Ice Mines, and this is a Flashpoint pick. They lost the last game, so they're going to take us to Ice Mines. And I hesitate to even call this one a slow map anymore because I'm proven wrong about half the times we go to this map. But another map where you know, I think some of the similar picks we've seen maybe could come to fruition. Notably, maybe the Bomb King for Shadow, but Flashpoint privy to that, take him off the board.
You could even have picked Term just to counter it. And Project, I was actually going to say, are they going to ban Strix? It's Ice Mines. Like, he's okay, but he's not unstoppable. But clearly, they just don't want Invocal to have this champion for the rest of the game. Raum also banned by Flashpoint because they recognize the impact it had last game. Flashpoint, are they going to prioritize an off tank with Raum and Khan banned? Could it be Ashe? Could it be Terminus? Could it be... It is Ashe for RuBBu, and I think RuBBu actually did phenomenal last game with that champion. Even with out-damaging the Raum, who is constantly all over the team, I think is a pretty big deal, and almost all those assert dominances either found their mark or kept them alive.
I agree, and they're putting a lot of weight in that Ashe now, picking her first overall. It's going to be Grover locked in now from Team Project. Inara as well. That was working for Hiro plenty. Last game on Ascension Peak helped Team Project grab their first win in this set. I am curious about damage dealers, though, in this one. Terminus, no surprise that he's locked in here on Ice Mines. You know, between both teams, you know, Victor has been a popular pick, and he is locked in this time.
Have we said a character that hasn't been picked immediately after yet?
No, we are on one today, Kresnik. We are not missing. And
I don't think we've said a single champion that hasn't immediately appeared in the draft lineup. But looking at what's coming up next for team, I think they need a blaster or a backline or something, or Tiberius. That works too. The bouncy shots should be good on Ice Mines. There's a lot of tight choke points that could go around and help. So with that healer, I'm not sure if they're going to run a double, but Evie for that blaster spot instead to pressure the backline. I think we'll be strong. They have not only with the bouncy shots and the piercing sword, but Shadow's going to be all over them.
If you need help,
I am so excited to watch Rakata, I'm assuming, on this Tiberius. I think he's going to be a big difference maker in this one. Drogo's locked in. I was curious if maybe Flashpoint would opt to go that direction, especially with Bomb King being banned out. Drogo's and Random Noob, two names that go together hand in hand, but Makoa may be the more important point here, a champion that we have not seen a whole lot of at all.
Last time we saw Makoa on Ice Mines, well, this actually was on the community broadcast, but I believe we were not very happy. Coriel's performance was very rough, I would say, but I understand why Team Project are picking it. Terminus Ashe on the other side, you can hook Terminus through his Siphon, you can hook Ashe out of her Assert Dominance. I find it weird that I have to give reasons why you would pick Makoa, but I think that's it. It's just to counter the other tanks, no matter how much he's going to get shredded by the Drogos on the other side.
Yeah, a few months ago, I'm yelling at you for even questioning it, and now he's 10th pick, and we're wondering why he's even getting picked up in the game. G-Bunny, he's got a big role to play here, especially, I brought up RuBBu. You first pick him, that Ashe, and that was so impactful in their previous game. Being the off-tank now for Team Project, you got a lot of counteracting to do to help your team stay in this game, I think. Do you think, I mean, I hesitate to allow you to make you overextend. I don't like doing that. But does the draft that Team Project brought to the table between a Tiberius, which we've seen mixed results from, and a Makoa, which we've rarely seen at all, does it have cohesion to you that can maybe give them a win here?
I think so. My biggest worry is dealing with the Drogos, but I think the Tiberius, his projectiles are big enough where it's consistent, being able to slow the Drogos with the sword, because I believe Rakata is running the legendary that I prefer, Predatory Instincts. Having the sword go out and come back to reset the slow is huge. If he is running that, if he didn't swap at the last second, then I think that's going to be a huge deal for them with that. They connect those double slows. It reapplies the slow for the full duration, so you can catch someone out really easily, and you need to be able to run away fast on ice.
And these windows are going to be tough. Hiro finds the first kill onto RuBBu. A bit unfortunate over the side. Goes Ashe here, and now the onslaught can begin from the rest of Team Project. Let's just move ourselves forward. Random Noob has been low throughout this entire first fight. Invocal, though, finds some final shots onto Rakata, who just gets cut down, but Shadow is able to trade out a couple. Suddenly the Evie starting to connect a few more shots. 3 kills in this first fight for Shadow, and this is deadly, especially on Ice Mines.
This pressure from Bunny, too, he actually got the initial pick onto RuBBu, hooking him straight off the side. Was a big deal, and even though they actually got... I think Ying actually teleported to the point to get that overtime touch, but everyone else is just getting locked out by Shadow. A lot of pressure on him, but a huge air shot connects it there, and I think they might still be trying to get into this point, though.
They could be, but they won't have the time to, so Team Project are able to snag point number 1 here on Ice Mines, especially after the daunting couple of games they had to start off this set. A good fight back mentally and literally in game from Team Project to give them a chance back here in this set. 5 streak burning away now for the Grover, 5 streak burning away for Hiro on the Inara as well. And that's good to see. I mean, so much of our emphasis has been, you know, Rakata, Shadow, the likes. So seeing kusqt starting to feel himself a little bit more, starting to see Hiro a bit more in his element on this Inara, is certainly great to see.
Wow, actually, that was a great use of that right click on the ultimate by Rakata, being able to land right above them and have that vertical difference on the ultimate still apply that damage. That's one of the harder ones to use. If you don't kill someone immediately when you land with the spinning part of that, you're just dead. There's nothing else you can do. You're an easy target, and confirming that, I think it shows a little bit of Tiberius knowledge too. A character that we didn't even know if he was going to get played too much. If there was going to be any map, this was going to be the map for it, with those tight corners and places to pierce that sword through the team when they stack up. So good to see him getting some use. Definitely want to see him come out a little bit more here, but there's pressure up top right now. They want to own this area, but they just can't get through the damage from Project.
Unfortunately, doesupz drops almost immediately, has the reanimate, but will elect to save it, realizing there's still a minute left in this round. Nice hook from G-Bunny, but RuBBu doesn't really go anywhere. It ends up confirming the final little bit of damage to finish off his own kill. Rakata just needed one more shot on Random Noob, unable to find it. doesupz back from base, has the reanimate still, so something to keep your eye on as this fight continues. kusqt chopped down here, so Team Project now fighting at a 4v5 disadvantage, and that's their key to just back themselves off and take a breath.
They have to. If you don't wipe the entire team, I mean, think about it's Invocal on Victor, and he's invincible. What do you do?
Seems good.
He's standing in the spawn. He can't die. He's free firing on your entire team. There's no cover. You have to just back off and say, all right, GG, go next. Like, you have to figure out the next way to do it. Hitting that hook would definitely have helped, but they still have a bit of time to set something up, as RuBBu was just a little bit extended on this left side.
Well, here's your respawn and your second chance. Final push for Team Project. They have 5 ultimates ready to go. Flashpoint, consider it the same with the Illusory Rift coming back up. Payload will finalize in overtime right next to the point here. The fight will determine the outcome. Rakata swirling through, but chopped down is that Tiberius. RuBBu does end up falling as well. doesupz drops, has reanimate. Should he choose to use it here in this moment. Ends up holding on to it just for a little bit longer. But now it's Invocal who has to dash down, and that's an Ancient Raging Makoa just running at your face. Final shot onto Invocal, and rolling on in as the payload for Team Project's second point.
He used a lot of ultimates for that, though. I am definitely a little bit concerned. And this is that ultimate we saw a little bit earlier with this spin up here. The vertical difference, you can still hit down a little bit with it, just like with Assert Dominance, and knowing that, I think, was huge. Also, that huge slow on Vex there probably made it easier to clean up on those kills. Rakata, that doesn't work anymore, buddy. Trying to use the Hone Senses card in spawn to get a little bit more of that ultimate charge, but doesn't work right now. Bunny has actually been having a complete turn, I'd say, from 2 maps ago.
Yeah, right?
On that Ruckus, a 6-0 performance, and he's been the catalyst for most of the kills the Project have gotten.
6-0-6 on the Makoa that we were wondering what kind of an impact it might have, and up to this point in this game, G-Bunny has had an impact and then some. Now it's time for Flashpoint to try their hand at another mid-fight with Fast Cap at their back. Barrage used first off here by Invocal. He's going to get some damage down onto the low ground. Rakata's going to take a 1v1 here with RuBBu, knocked back, but RuBBu wins the day here. Shadow pulls back a kill on the other side of this fight, but double kill from Invocal on that Victor is just enough as we move into a quick pause for Flashpoint to have a slight edge here in this fight.
It was a great start by RuBBu, and also good for him to hold off on using anything there. Just with the Illusory Rift, he knew it was enough. He knew he would win that 1v1. The Combat Trance used a little early by Rakata. I would say that's a cooldown that you normally reserve to win 1v1s. If you use it just for spam at the start, unless you have the card that lets the Heavy Blade reset the cooldown on your Combat Trance, you really need it if you get pressured. And he's against an Ashe. He won't have a lot of backup, but you can straight up win that fight if you manage to hold on to your cooldowns.
And you could really see, and it's so impressive, I guess, RuBBu feeling the confidence there to go up against Rakkata, obviously doing enough damage to win that 1v1, but especially a champion in Tiberius that we typically see taking these 1v1 fights and winning them more often than not if you're able to hit your shots. So RuBBu giving his team an edge here. Just now getting back onto the point, our Flashpoint. No matter, though, as they'll be getting 4% per tick on this fight. Team Project only have that Tiberius ultimate ready to go. Hiro heavily staggered out here, so now that Inara is going to be missing, maybe one final chance. G-Bunny is going to hook one back, and Vocal in a tough spot. Rakkata finds the final shot. He's popped that ultimate, and doesupz sets him down right back into the snow. Random Noob getting a kill on that Drogos is a good maybe bit of favor here for Flashpoint. Vex is just going to plug some damage into Shadow as he blinks up to the high ground. Good mobility there. Overtime is on. This one is for Flashpoint, 99%. Team Project need to remain on that point with no room for error. RuBBu nearly walled off, but he's able to sneak his way through. doesupz is doing such a good job here at this point of staying in this fight. He has the reanimate and is going to use it. Likely won't find any damage, but it might stop them from moving on to the point. Hiro has to touch his toe in there, but RuBBu gets the kill, and nobody else from Team Project is in range, and Flashpoint find their first point.
The tanks on Team Project actually did so much there. That is, there was just nothing else they could do with the ultimates that Flashpoint still had, but they were so far back. Hiro drew them back and let them have space in, and then Buddy runs behind them too, and two people run away, making it an even fight in front because of that. It was such smart decisions, I think, by them, but just the resources on the other side were just not able to be overcome. So RuBBu, though, making good pressure, peeling over there on the side, and getting completely split. That's what you have to do. I think their comp kind of wants a little bit of chaos for this Evie and this Tiberius to do what they want to do.
And now maybe is a good point, as we've seen Random Noob plugging out some good damage. To talk about this Drogos a little bit. Obviously, Random Noob, one of the best in the world on this champion. Ice Mine's a great map for the combustible talent. But I think in the game as a whole, we just haven't seen Drogos outside of some of these fringe scenarios.
I'd say, I mean, think about what's popular right now. I mean, it's Victor, Vivian are getting banned in a lot of games. Koga is being played. It's a very tough time to be a Drogos player. You can still play it on these maps where it's effective, though. I mean, Frog, Ice Mines, as you can see, and it's still pretty decent, but just not doing what it used to.
And right now, they'll need it to do what it used to, as the payload has stalled itself out here. Random Noob has done some good damage, and that's another great example. And it was largely RuBBu doing some good knockbacks there, but Random Noob completing the kill, a double kill now on this Drogos to try to get this payload moving forward. He's going to swoop over the top of Hiro, keeps himself alive. And now Flashpoint have given themselves a pretty decent chance here with 45 or so seconds left to maybe push this one in.
I love this term Drogos pairing, too, because they could just siphon him as he goes in, free shots on the fire spit if he wants to keep it up that effectively, if he wants to siphon that spit in. Helps a lot, but not when you're getting pressured by an Evie like that. Look at that aggression from up top by Project.
G-Bunny spins his way down and actually gets the kill before trading himself out, so effective there on the defensive side to get something going in your favor here if you're Team Project. Hiro is going toe-to-toe with the Terminus. Fortunately, kusqt ruins that 1v1 and gets the kill here. 8 seconds remaining. Overtime will start, but Shadow is going to fully pressure out Invocal. He nearly turned around the kill. That's the spray on the ground. I asked if there's maybe a little something extra here, and I don't think that's a malicious spray, but you can tell they're feeling good when they're playing well. Shadow, a nice double kill to cap that one off. And nearly pushing us to a Game 5 here is Team Project, 1 point away from a Game 5.
And I think they have the resources to do it too, because I don't think they spent too much for that defense. The cart was still so far away at this point. I'm shocked Random survived here with the pressure that Hiro was putting on. He was real low, 169 actually at the last moment, but one thing we don't really talk about Drogos a lot is hitting that fire spit on someone makes them more vulnerable to damage. Usually you only see pro players shooting it, because 99% of the time that's the better thing to do. But Hiro walks up with the Earthen Guard, he just spits on him, dashes away, and now suddenly that damage reduction does nothing extra. It's basically completely mitigated. The rest of the team is able to pierce it. Look at these ultimates, though. Almost everything up. Only Ice Storm not available, and we'll have to see how they want to go in with these ultimates.
But Invocal killed off first off, and doesupz drops as well. Is he going to use the reanimate? The big question to look at, the answer is yes this time around. So back into the fight, but RKTA has moved his way through the backline of Flashpoint, jumps on through, but no damage to be found on RuBBu as he's in that assert dominance. Hiro gets the kill onto Vex. No more healing now for Flashpoint, but kusqt immediately traded out. So Team Project are in a similar dilemma here. G-Bunny down onto the low ground. Ancient Rage is going to swing away some damage. dousupz, he has to Shatterfall his way down. Both front lines gone now from Flashpoint. 3 squishy members. One of them's Invocal, but Random Noob cleaned up. Victor on the runaway, and Team Project, they're on the zone.
RuBBu, I can't believe they lost that fight, because RuBBu survived with 1 HP for about 8 years. He took so much damage, so much pressure, and just lived through it all, but no dismounts. They're too scared to push out. They managed to get back in, and I think they might have a decent trade here.
It's maybe a well-placed Ice Storm from Shadow, and he's able to get the kill, turns it around for a double kill at the last minute, and Invocal pulls a kill onto kusqt, a double kill, maybe giving his team a little bit of life here as Flashpoint need him to go big. He's going to have to move his way down to the point. Resetting overtime is Hiro, but now it's Invocal solo frontlining up against the Inara. Overtime still could be on. He's done the roundabout, gotten the kill now onto Hiro, and against all odds, Invocal has pulled this one back, and suddenly Flashpoint are in control.
And the only thing Project have to retake this is Tiberius Ultimate. They could use it to fly onto the point potentially. They're going to try. It looks like they actually are using it in the back right now. They get the overtime, but what else can they find?
And they get rid of Invocal as well. A big hook down onto Random Noob. G-Bunny connects. Shadow rejoins the fight, and maybe is able to find some damage here. dousupz has that power siphon up, but Hiro gets rid of RuBBu. dousupz drops down as well. Overtime is over, and Team Project pushing us to a Game 5.
Oh my god, Invocal must be heartbroken. He soloed. Vex was there. Vex was helping draw pressure on the side, but Invocal did so much in that last fight. And then they just send RKTA dashing onto the point with the ultimate, using those charges, whirling to survive, and everyone else floods in while they're staring at the invincible Tiberius.
As if there was any doubt that these two teams would be this closely matched. After getting the floor mopped with you in Game 1, Team Project have come back and now have taken 2 straight games as we move into a Game 5. Random Noob, 10-13 on that Drogos. A bit of a tough go of things, but I think Shadow at 11-6 and G-Bunny with a good slash line as well. 2 of the guys on Team Project that you have to look at.
Yeah, I gotta say that too. I mean, comparing both Invocal and Shadow, like you said, imagine these 2 guys on the same team, huh? Whoa, wouldn't they do
No way
well?
they lose.
No, there's no way. I can't imagine anything else happening, Dave.
Oh, that's good stuff, Kresnik. You are on point today, and I love it. And it was the tug of war between those ex-teammates. I mean, Invocal there at the end nearly saves the game for Flashpoint. Shadow swoops through, double kills, triple kills, plenty of damage all throughout this game. It's such an interesting dynamic to watch. And I really think that this is probably the set that we deserve between these two teams. A lot of ex-teammates on either side, and they're neck and neck. I couldn't tell you who's going to take game number 5.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to depend on the map a bit, too, but I don't even know what they'd be picking or banning here if they keep up the Strix bans, if they feel like they have to ban Evie and Raum. I feel like there's so many things for Flashpoint to worry about, whereas Project just said, we don't like Strix. And they got rid of Strix, and things have kind of completely turned around since then.
Well, it's Game 5 on Frog Isle, and a lot of the champions you just mentioned, Kresnik, certainly come to mind there. Frog Isle, that data pool is so small. I don't know what the Raum play rate is on Frog Isle, but I imagine he's
immense.
Still strong. Yeah, I imagine
he's very,
still,
very strong on this map.
Highly played. Knessa banned out first overall, and I think Team Project forced to show their hand there. No way that you let the Strix go through at that point, being the only sniper on the board. Raum banned out now, so heavy sniper priority. Team Project have to consider, though, what they ban out. It's going to be Khan for the 4th and final overall. You figured Evie may play a big role here on this map, and she's still open to pick.
Yeah, and Flashpoint don't really want to get rid of it even after that performance by Shadow, so wouldn't be shocked to see it come out. I know we've seen it quite a bit in the past. And Ashe, I think, is a good supplement for that Raum presence that is gone now, being able to kind of get very aggressive, assert dominance from the ground up into the window where the backline wants to be. And Project also taking away that Victor from Invocal after that performance last game as well. I think Project has started this draft pretty well.
I like the locking in of the Barik. I mean, you get enough you know, sustain heal, whether it's the Whirlwind or just generic Grover healing, as well as probably the two largest health pools still left on the table between an Inara and a Barik. Terminus may give them a run for their money, but they're going to have Ashe as well for Team Project here. So early priority in the heavy front line for Flashpoint, but early priority in heavy hit scan damage for Team Project.
And this Androx is finally getting through after all the bans that Flashpoint have been doing before. This is a great start, I think. I think both those are very good DPS champions on this map. And picking Inara Barik used to be so good, and it used to be something that Virtus Pro used to do a lot. The core that moved into this Flashpoint roster now used to do it quite a bit, but it's not really as effective anymore. You just play Term now. Term's really good. You're kind of just like, yeah, we got you. We made you play a good main tank.
Yeah, a world where, I don't remember what we were saying last game, but a world where we're also saying Terminus is in a great spot. It's a whole new year of Paladins.
I've been standing Terminus for years, Dave.
You're right. No, you have always been standing him to mixed results maybe, but I agree. I think he's in a great spot right now. It's Fragile, it's game number 5, and it's potentially a reverse sweep in week number 2 of the PPC here in North America. It's arguably the two best teams. Team Project up against Flashpoint NA. Flashpoint won the first 2 maps, but Team Project come roaring back. One final game to decide this set and likely decide first place. And I'm excited to see what Rakata's able to do on this Victor paired with Shadow on that Androxus.
I'm actually staring at that ferocity on the side of Invocal. They want Ying as a main healer instead of focusing lanes.
Wait, yeah, what?
And they're just going to have this poke. I mean, we don't get Victor, we'll just get Grover instead. He's good, right? I've seen some win rates. He seems pretty all right. So it's a good start for them, I think, draft-wise, because they have a lot of healing. But look, they have no presence at all on the point.
Team Project do have that presence, doubling up the percentage of Flashpoint. Shadow just kind of playing this low ground right now, plugging away a little bit of damage here and there onto Flashpoint, who are forced to move themselves back, but right back onto the point they go to retake the lead. No first blood just yet. Random Noob from downtown gets rid of Rakata. A nice couple of daggers there. Gives Flashpoint an early edge, and that's the gas they needed. Shadow's the next to go down. Flashpoint find themselves a couple of kills, likely to make it 3 here once G-Bunny falls, and they are right back in control of the point.
I was about to say, I loved the fact that Bunny suicided for the point just to get them a little bit more time, but then he stood right next to it instead of on it and gave them about 15% more, so rough there. That might straight up stop the retake potential because of the timing of the death, and yeah, Flashpoint, because of that, they're going to get the first point. They have a main tank in both lanes, and unless they go vertical with Shadow, I don't know how they're going to break through that hold.
This is the present threat, I guess, that Fragile brings. Every once in a while, if you're on the back foot on the defense, this payload can just keep rolling and rolling and rolling, and you're never there to stop it. And losing G-Bunny, certainly no help to your cause, as Hiro's just playing stalwart on that payload, but he falls as well. Suddenly, Team Project already back in base, Kresnik, with 2 minutes left on the clock.
And they're already taking good position, too. Barik here on the right side. I know RuBBu loves his Barik off-tank and has since the early Envy days. They're trying to barrage the counter, but look how aggressive Doe is. Doe is literally in their spawn, ulting them.
Nobody expects the flank Inara, right? Apparently you need to if you're Team Project. A double seismic crash, a wall to keep them out of the fight. You don't find any kills, but you've bought yourself some time and a little bit of space, and that might just be enough here for Flashpoint. Dome Shield is ready to go. The other 4 ultimates outside of the seismic crash are as well. RuBBu gonna rocket boots his way around. Hiro chipped away at G-Bunny. Shoulder bashes his way back to safety. Or Ashe rather, shoulder bashes back to safety. Assert dominance down, locks down RuBBu, who has to get himself out of this fight. Dome Shield awaiting on the other end, and Rakata is able to clean up Random Noob. RuBBu might just be a difference maker here down the stretch. As the onslaught continues and Team Project are able to fight their way back out. Hiro finally getting in the kill column as doesupz falls.
Doe actually drew so much aggro there on the corner. He did go down eventually, but it was just so much time they had to spend waiting for that Earthen Guard to run out. And Flashpoint are still so close. After having gotten the Accursed Arm and the Assert Dominance out, they could spend if they want to, but we'll just see how willing they are to after getting completely knocked back by Bunny, and Midnight's going to be the first thing to come out.
Oh, and that kind of locks off Rakata from what he was hoping to do there, and Inflame immediately traded out to give Team Project a bit of an evening tool here in this fight, but down he goes. Invocal from range hits the final axe onto Rakata. Down comes slamming Hiro, has a reanimate if need be. 3 kills on the board now for Flashpoint. And the Hero does not take the reanimate here. Random Noob just looking to plug away a little bit more damage, but in the meantime, the payload has rolled itself in. Flashpoint strike early, and they strike twice.
So those hitboxes on the Grover axis are pretty big, if you didn't know. They can go straight over that little podium area that people will hide behind when they're playing in that area, and I think if Rakata didn't know about it before, he definitely knows about it now. With Invocal out-damaging his Maeve right now on this Ferocity Grover. I mean, this is a throwback. This used to be something that you would see all the time. Pre-Strix release, on this map, you got Kinessa or you got Grover. Like, those were the snipers that you picked. Since then, Ferocity's been nerfed a little bit, but with the nerfs to Cauterize, see him kind of shifting back into the meta, you see him connecting those axes, doing that damage, and still keeping his team alive.
It's been kind of the magnifying glass of those double healer compositions. If you're able to do enough damage to make it worthwhile, that seems to work out, and it has up to this point for Flashpoint. Team Project still a chance to fight back in, though. This is an important mid-fight. First on the board with Fast Cap at your back. Not a lot of ultimates, though. Really a reanimate, and suddenly you're losing G-Bunny. A Whirlwind from Invocal is going to keep Flashpoint nice and topped off in this fight. Not soon enough, though, to save the life of doesupz. That was a great trade back by Hiro. Rakata chipped down in that back line. Team Project still on the back foot, but Kresnik, they've got 54%.
Rakata got aggressive thinking his off-tank was going to live, but him going down made it so he couldn't stay there. It immediately became a danger zone. Still, though, that pressure from up top from the Androxus, it's forcing them back, and RuBBu wants to hold his ground, but he just can't.
Yeah, it's tough to lose your Barik at this point, especially with 93% for Team Project. 97 is where they go. Just need to reset overtime and get themselves one more touch. Some good daggers have kept Flashpoint in this fight. Midnight used as well as the Illusory Rift. Looking like the winning fight right now from Flashpoint as Vex moves in, gets rid of Hiro, or gets rid of Shadow as doesupz gets rid of Hiro. RuBBu moves his way back to the point. Overtime expires, but not to end this mid-fight, just to give Flashpoint back control.
With all that cap time they have, this is retakeable if they don't dismount the Terminus, potentially. They are very forward, though, and they do get him off of that mount. Maybe Ashe could basically suicide in that barrage. Might have forced the tanks back enough to make some space.
81% for Flashpoint. RuBBu dies off as well. Hiro's going to try to make his way in, bouncing around, and he'll make his way there. A stun connects onto the Inara this time, and that kind of opens the door for Hiro to move in. And they're not able to kill off the backline. Flashpoint are Team Project. They fought their way back in. Vex trades out a kill, but doesupz and Vex immediately fall. Team Project, the retake is there, and they grab themselves point number 1.
How did Shadow live? That Siphon was so perfect. They literally 1 HP. It couldn't have been closer. And the peel from Terminus keeps him alive. This is why he's such a powerful tank. Not because it keeps himself alive, because you could be fighting on another side of the map, you don't think he's there, and then suddenly you're doing 0 damage and they're still doing full.
And now you need to tie up this game here if you're Team Project. A Dome Shield down to the low ground just makes everyone from Team Project kind of look the other direction. Shadow finally cleaned up here, but Rakata still firing away in the back line, gets the kill onto RuBBu. You're going to have a checkerboard of kills here that tends to benefit the defensive team, with the respawns being a little bit closer. But I think you need to look at the ultimates really for both teams. With a minute and a half left, you're starting to enter that danger territory, and Rakata likes to use his first, but it's kusqt who ends up falling.
I mean, he's just peeking Invocal. You just can't do that. You can't be too proud against a Ferocity Grover. I think everyone just might forget how much damage he does exactly, but the rest of the team disengages, and that's what they have to do. You don't always have to full commit to every fight. You can play it safe and get ready to refight. And it might be their saving grace here, because I don't know if they know that Shadow is that close, able to chip at them with both damagers from Team Project are leading the way right now, and a lot of pressure on Shadow, I think, to push out this flank.
I agree. With a minute left, he has time to do so. Almost 4 ultimates online. Barrage will charge quickly for Team Project. Flashpoint used the Midnight early on here in this engagement. They are going to force back a couple members of Team Project back down to the low ground. Nothing else, though. doesupz maybe a little bit caught off, but he is going to give himself, or rather benefit from some good healing But they lose Random Noob early on here, so this is potentially a turning point now for Team Project. Up into the air goes the Accursed Arm, and he's raining down damage. doesupz trying to shrug it off, but right now he's just going to contest the point as the payload rolls itself in. RuBBu, doesupz both down. Team Project 5 members strong.
And they're holding really forward too, going to make it really tough for them to break through at all, more or less. Random tries to duel and goes down, and that means they have to try to take this 5v4. With ultimates up on the other side, maybe go to force him out, but you don't want to feed that Androxus or that Furia any more ult charge than you need to.
Whoa! I guess they just step out of range, and suddenly Flashpoint go up 3-1?
I guess so. I wish I could
see
say anything else, but, you know, it really be like that sometimes. You just think you want to zone, you want to get aggressive. 1 second late, you're like, hey, who's on cart? And then you get ready for your next mid-fight immediately.
Yeah, and then the game tells you that nobody is on the cart. It looked like maybe doesupz had walled off G-Bunny from, like, getting back to the cart or something like that. I mean, right there in that last split second, I couldn't quite tell. But it almost looked like doesupz had maybe blocked the way back in, and that's my best guess at it. But at any rate, it is Flashpoint who are now up 3-1 with that potential reverse sweep. Maybe dashed against the rocks for Team Project. You're going to have to win the mid-fight a few more times. Barrage from Rakkata is going to start it off, but that forces out the Whirlwind from Invocal way in the back line. So no kills come of that one just yet. G-Bunny drops down the assert dominance. Health advantage-wise, maybe in Flashpoint's favor, and they make good on it as Vex is able to find the last little bit of damage here. So 1-for-none advantage. Flashpoint are in control. Now they just need to zone and maybe find themselves the win.
But look at this, it's 4 ults for 1 pick. Everyone else on Project survives, and they have a total chance to retake this, especially with Shadow about to push this side. They have to give up ground. They know they can't contest an Androxus, and Hiro still has res. Pushing down main, they have all the ultimates that they really need, and that Inflame is going to be a huge starter.
And 39% for Team Project is a great leap off point here to maybe convert a fight into a mid-fight win. RuBBu, first to go down. Shadow is going to dance around the left-hand side, takes to the skies, Accursed Arm, looking for a little bit of damage, but has to reversal his way back down. Not a moment too soon, as he was very, very low there, but is able to stay alive. Shatterfall down, on to doesupz here. Overtime beginning for Team Project. doesupz goes down, overtime reset. One final time. 1-for-1 trade as Flashpoint get a kill. On to G-Bunny, but Hiro is point tanking his heart out here around the corner. Is one, but RuBBu punched down as Hiro gets the kill. One more punch onto Vex, and Team Project have their second point.
I think I'm starting to understand why teams were banning Androxus earlier. Just so strong, so impactful. Unstoppable, more or less, unless they really turn someone to do it. But those point tanks really can't do much about it. He's soaring around, unstoppable up there. Only Axis can come in, and he just wants to spend his ultimate into the backline.
That's another reactionary whirlwind as well from Flashpoint, just trying to save the life of a couple members of their team. G-Bunny does end up falling around that payload, so a breath of fresh air here if you're Flashpoint. The defense looked good last time for you, but now you got another 2 minutes to burn off the clock. But Kresnik, this is kind of what we've seen, the tug and pull of the ultimate economy. Flashpoint used them early in their previous fight, and now they're going to get them back, I mean, maybe a little bit earlier than Team Project are. But the longer this goes on, Team Project are going to get themselves right back into that ultimate conversation with a chance to tie the game.
For sure, and I think they're just going to try to not hold anything potentially, unless they want to convert this for sure. But it's better to play it safe and try to win those mid-fights. Look at how aggressive Doe is right now with those trades, and Flashpoint just walking off that pressure. They're wiping this team.
And that's a triple kill from Random Noob around the backside. A quadra kill somehow. Oh wait, it was another onto Hiro. I read that one twice. Oh, he baited
I think
so
he
hard.
sunk off the map. He sunk off the map in the resurrecting state, so it counted a second time.
I saw his name pop up again. I was like, no way, right? And then I saw it was Hiro a second time. Nonetheless, though, 3 kills there for Random Noob to help secure that defense. With 45 seconds left, things looking maybe a bit dire. The game will not end here if Flashpoint defends successfully. Team Project just looking for a tie. But now you're in that red zone territory. I mean, if you're Flashpoint, you got 5 ultimates ready to go, and they will not be charged if you use them by the next mid-fight.
They're probably not going to spend any because they did need to have it for this final fight. This is a good split from them too, I think. Androxus can play in the open, and if they can't look at the Ashe, then Ashe is still going to do some respectable damage that they have to react to, but they give up that side just to push main, and Shadow's now stuck in a 1v2.
Yeah, Shadow is in a tough spot right now, and Vex makes good on that. So 4v4 as Invocal gets traded out. Not all of the healing is gone, though, for Flashpoint. Still have a little bit in the Ying. kusqt is dropped off, though, and that is all of the healing for Team Project, but Rakata's put his stamp on this final fight. Vex puts an end to that one, and this one remains at 3-2, as if it could get any closer.
Every ultimate's still up, too, and you gotta say, Flashpoint have to be a little more careful with their ultimates, because a Barrage basically made them panic pop every single one. Barrage came up from Rakata, he's standing in window. RuBBu domes, Invocal whirlwinds, Vex illusories right after. They need to be more careful, I think, about where they spend it, because once they do lose that fight, no matter how close it was, the retake becomes significantly harder. Even winning the next fight, then Project have all these resources to spend again, but they have to be so careful because of that backline aggression potential. Not only can Shadow dash around the side and play on sides they're not used to fighting, but it can dash straight down the middle, assert dominance right up to the windowsill, force Invocal back. I think Project have all the ways to execute. Flashpoint just have to be so careful about their economy to stop them.
Just how aggressive do you want to be? And the answer is very, as the Inflame starts off, but immediately stifled out just a little bit by that Midnight, but it is 27% for Team Project to start off this fight. G-Bunny up into the window with that assert dominance, drops down and is able to sidestep that Dome Shield. Hiro trying to help out his backline just a little bit. Seismic crash, but Hiro jumps over it, so you don't find much there. He's locked down, but immediately shrugs it off and gets back up. Rakata has the barrage and is going to plug some damage away. doesupz gets chipped away at, and Hiro finds the kill. Team Project rolling through this mid-fight, better ultimate usage, better positioning. At 75%, Team Project might just tie the game.
With the Resurrect used too, so they have a full health Terminus on the point, and they're going to have to send someone in, and they can. I have to talk about Hiro's literal hero play. He Shatterfalled and took the Seismic Crash in the face to save the rest of his team in the back from getting hit by it. And they tried to execute on top of that. They were ready to push in off of the big team stun, and it never happened. Hiro single-handedly just Mr. Presidented that round for Team Project.
And as such, this game is tied up as if we expected anything different. Game 5.7, not very unfamiliar for a couple members of this game between Random Noob and RuBBu. The last time we saw them was Game 7.7 against a couple members of Team Project who were on the Pittsburgh Knights at the time, so maybe familiar territory here.
On Frog Isle,
early
too.
on. That's right, and on Frog Isle. I mean, it all just makes sense here. And last time, the Pittsburgh Knights boys were able to take the day, and 3 out of the 5 members of Team Project previously for the Knights. So maybe that gives them a slight edge here. But they haven't had really any success at all, they being Team Project, on these pushes. I mean, Flashpoint have really stopped this payload effectively where it is right now. Every single attempt that Team Project has had.
Shadow actually was really smart here in the back, though. He reversaled just to get his passive healing, and it was huge because he got fully healed. They couldn't stop him, but he wipes 3 of them off the map.
This is dangerous. Kresnik, a double kill for Shadow. 3 staggered out members of Flashpoint. It won't make its way all the way home. The payload won't just yet, so there's still a respawn chance now from Flashpoint, but Team Project are able to take so much space up here in the front line. Hiro is just going to play zone. A barrage just trying to plug away some damage for Rakata. Gets Barik so low here. Not able to get the kill yet, but RuBBu does end up falling nonetheless. So a 5v4 now for Team Project. G-Bunny's moved his way into the back line. Random Noob is able to come to the assistance of Invocal. Shadow turns around. A kill on a doesupz though. Payload continuing to move itself in. Invocal shot down from Rakata. Payload so close to going through. RuBBu back from base. Dome Shield drops down. 15 seconds remaining. Overtime will be on if this one doesn't end in the next 10 or so seconds. But RuBBu takes too much damage. The stagger so heavy onto Flashpoint. Suddenly doesupz, the only one left alive back behind as well. Random Noob has fallen elsewhere on the map. Shadow gets onto Invocal. doesupz falls. Down goes Invocal. Team Project reverse sweep. And Game 5 goes to Team Project.
Ask me if that's going to be the result after Game 2. I don't think that's what I'm going to tell you. And I think the tank
We're out
draft...
of here an hour ago.
The tank draft that Flashpoint had was the failing there. Because look at the end. Rakkata is literally just standing in main, free-firing on Victor. Who's going to deal with him? The Maeve, who's already low from Rakkata? If they had an actual off-tank, they might have been able to pressure him, but they just had no chance. Rakkata just broke all their shields, broke the wall, and was unstoppable in that main lane.
I'll take a cool 170k damage on my Victor, please, and a 147 on my Androxus. That'd be just fine as well. And I think Hiro, I mean, at 120,000 damage, he's only 10,000 damage behind both of the DPSs for Flashpoint. I think Hiro had a heck of a day today.
Yeah, no, I agree, especially in some of the earlier maps even that they weren't doing too hot on. I think his peel was still very effective, able to withstand the pressure from that Strix. So he did well, but we got proof why Androxus was being banned every single game, I think, on this last map with how Shadow was performing. I don't know if it was a target ban or not, but if it wasn't, I think it will be from here on in.
And talk about the day we've seen, and this is, I think, really the matchup we wanted to see, not only because every player in this game is incredible at the game, but so much of the conversation last year was around Invocal, around Shadow, even Hiro to some extent on, you know, these guys are incredible in their own right. Why is this team just not working? What will it look like when we get them on the same team? Or on different teams rather, and we've seen two sides of the same coin. Invocal popping off through a couple, Shadow having some great games down the stretch, but it is Team Project in the only 3-2 of the day, as you can see by our nice schedule here. They're able to take the win over Flashpoint, giving themselves first place in North America, some 3-0s down the other side. But about what I expected, and you know, as is tradition, I guess we have to have the winners come in for an interview, right? So we have Hiro here from Team Project. How's it going, man?
He asked, "How's it going?" I have to give him my headphones now because
why don't you interview Hiro? Since,
you want me to translate?
Yeah, sure. If you want to do that, and you can ask me some questions too.
How's it going? It's going pretty well. How are you?
Good, dude. We're living the dream. I love seeing you guys, you know, back in action here today. I think one of the anticipated matchups that we had over here in North America. What's it like getting back in here and playing against, obviously, you know, some ex-teammates, you know, ex-PPL guys? Did this matchup just have a little bit extra for you in it?
Yeah, it's always fun playing against, you know, people you played against last year, and especially playing against Invocal that played with us last year. It's always really good playing against them and getting a win over them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I have to ask about that. Through games 1 and 2, Invocal on the Strix, kind of tearing it up, man. I mean, it looked dire there for a little while. What's the communication like as a team, sort of after game 1 and 2? You realize maybe let's just take Strix off the table?
Yeah, Cuz basically said, you know, I don't want the Strix in the game anymore. Let's get rid of it. I don't care if it's like overreacting. And then we banned it, and it just seemed to work, so it was really good.
Fair enough, and with a win here, I mean, it's only 2 weeks, but that puts you guys in first place in the North American PPC. Is that where the confidence kind of stands for you guys? I mean, a big win here today over arguably one of the top 2 teams. Do you guys carry the confidence of a top-seeded team?
Yeah, we always like kind of figured, you know, we'd be like top 2, but beating like this team that we like kind of put ourselves behind a little bit at the beginning of this year, it feels really good to like overcome that.
Well, dousupz is able to grab their second win here as well. Well, Hiro, I appreciate you sitting down with us, talking to us for a little while. Congrats on the big win. We'll bring Kresnik back in here to wrap out the day.
All right, thank you.
Do you need to get back?
Yeah.
So it is the standings here for North America. dousupz are able to snag a win, so plus-minus wise, edging out Team Project. Another team, I think we can't really ignore Kresnik. I think you look at dousupz and what they've been able to do through the first few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously the huge names on Team Project and on Flashpoint, but dousupz technically standing in first place overall, though tied with Team Project on wins and losses.
Yeah, and I think they're going to be a force as they go forward, especially with, I said it at the start of the day, but how well their meta kind of goes against these other teams, because they're literally just doing their own thing. And depending on if this triple support double DPS works against them, if standard's going to work against them, we're going to see how these metas kind of collide as the season goes on.
Well, this is only week 2. I mean, the standings are shifting because they're all so close. So the storylines will continue all year long. That's all we've got for you today in the PPC for week number 2. Make sure to tune in tomorrow at mixer.com/PaladinsGame or twitch.tv/PaladinsGame. Myself, Kresnik, Gormizer, Finch, the whole crew, we're going to be bringing you some more Paladins action tomorrow. So on behalf of myself, Kresnik, everyone back in production, thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.